Welcome to the Palace to the Core. This podcast and video that's going to be available on YouTube. So if you don't want to listen to it as a podcast, if you would rather see me, from whatever reason you would want to, then you can check me out on the Palace to the Core YouTube channel as well. Now I've got my computer to one side here today because it was a bit of a rejigging around. So excuse me if I do look away for a little bit, but it's only to get the information. The game against Arsenal, away to Arsenal, was one of those games that I wasn't too sure about because, Arsenal, they haven't had the best start to the season, but they have been starting to pick up a little bit. They've been starting to get a little bit of momentum. And I was a bit concerned that maybe we would just meet them at the wrong time and that we would be on the end of a drubbing. Although I don't know why I thought that because, Palace have been playing incredibly well. We were doing exactly, I think, what Vieira has been wanting us to do. A few little things here and there which I'm going to talk about, but in general I think that we've been doing all right. So the lineups for Arsenal, it was Ramsdale at the back, then Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel and Tierney, Thomas in a kind of just in front of the defenders, and then Pepe, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Saka, and then Aubameyang, I'm going to say it wrong, up front for them. For us, a bit of a change. We had Gaeta at the back, of course, Mitchell, Gehi, Anderson and Ward, which are the kind of familiar backline for us now. MacArthur and Milivojevic just in front of them, and then just in front of them, Edouard, Gallagher and Ayew, because there was no Zaha, unfortunately, for the game against Arsenal. And then Benteke up front on his own, although, of course, those other three would push up and make a kind of a four at the front. And that was kind of how we lined up, and it was one of those games when, as I said, I was a little bit concerned, but we did try and work really hard, and I think that we actually had a good game. I mean, if you look at it from early on, it didn't go our way. I have to be honest with you. The goals were good goals, but there was some nerves early on, I think, from the Palace players. Maybe not nerves. I think maybe Arsenal came out a bit faster than us, and we tend to come out quite quickly and on the front foot, and Arsenal did that against us, and I think it paid off for them as it does do for us sometimes. And it certainly did pay off for them because on 8 minutes, Arsenal scored the first goal. It was a little bit frantic, and we were kind of trying to establish our position in the game, and so it came as a bit of a shock. It was Aubameyang scored on the 8th minute, and it was just one of those goals. It was just one of those things that you think we weren't quite set properly. I think we were still trying to settle into the game, and it took us a bit by surprise. But credit to Arsenal, they did put the ball in the back of the net, and of course, one of the things that's happened to us in the past when we've lost an early goal, we tend to then sit back a little bit, but we didn't. Actually, it was Arsenal that sat back for the remainder of the first half. They were kind of allowing Palace to come at them a little bit, and we started to get into a bit of a form. And Gallagher had his usual good game and fast-paced game, and we were looking better and better as the first half went on. We started to create a couple of chances. And even though we didn't have Zaha, which in the past would have been a big red flag to us, we were playing well. We were trying to work well. Edouard seemed to play quite well out on that side, and even though he didn't get necessarily many chances, he did manage to get into the box at some times and create a few chances for us. And there were a couple of occasions when we could have gone into the break level. Certainly at the end of the first half, when Gallagher got hold of the ball and gave it a massive volley, fantastic volley, that the keeper tipped over the bar. But it was a fantastic effort, and it was one of those just on the as it was coming to him, he just hit it, and that's what you tend to expect from Gallagher. I mean, he's just got such a talent there, and I'm going to talk a little bit about him after I've done the match report as well. But that is how it went in at half time. We were 1-0 down, and it's happened before. We've had games in the past since the beginning of the season where we've gone in down a goal or something like that, and the people on the television, the commentators were saying that Palace have been in this situation before. Will they be able to come back from it again? Will they be able to come back and get something happening in the second half? And to be fair to Vieira, we did. We came out in the second half. We were a little bit more on the front foot from the beginning of the second half. Although Arsenal did have a little bit of possession early on, we then started to come back into the second half again, and we started to create some good chances. Saka was replaced for Arsenal at half time. He took a, what should we say, a bit of a smack from McCarthy. He seemed to be in a bit of a mood in this game. He seemed to be a bit too up for it. He was going in a bit hard with the challenges, and basically the ball was coming down for him, and he was going to hit it on the volley. Instead of hitting the ball, he hit the back of Saka's legs, which I think caused a little bit of an issue for him because he was substituted at half time. But as I said, second half we came in, we were a bit stronger, and we were starting to make things happen. And even though Arsenal were trying to get on the break and trying to impose their own self on the game again, things were kind of trying to work out for us, and we were having a good spell in the game. It was at that point that Arsenal brought on Lazete, and he had a big impact on the game. He started to create things for them. He started to have shots at goal and doing the good passes just in front of the box. And I was getting a little bit concerned by that. I thought, well, he's come on and he's changed the game for Arsenal. Arsenal looked a lot more threatening when he'd come on the pitch. And just before AU was substituted for Alesi, he actually had a good spell in the game. He wasn't too bad in this game, actually. He played quite well. He was hustling really badly, really hard, I should say. And it led to our first goal. He battled to win the ball back in midfield, passed it to Gallagher, who ran forward, passed it to Benteke, who I was a little bit unsure when he got the ball whether it was going to go in the back of the net, but he got his first goal, and it was a good strike to the lower right-hand side to more of a passed shot into the corner of the bottom corner of the net, and gave us the 1-1 draw at that point. And it was a good move for us. I thought that we played really well, and AU certainly did have a moment there when he was really working hard. He also had a shot at goal, but it was straight at the keeper, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. But I think he played a lot better in the second half or a lot better in this game in total, in fact. But he was eventually substituted for Alesi, and Alesi was involved in Palace's second goal when he passed it to Edouard, and Edouard put a really fast kind of volley shot right into the top corner, right into the top of the goal, and it bounced off the bar and into the back of the net. The keeper really didn't have anything to get any way of getting to it, and that put us 2 up in the second half. And by that point, I think we had about 25-30 minutes to go, and you were thinking at that point, well, we do look like we've got some dominating going on here. We were dominating possession. We were having good chances, and it looked like we might be able to sneak a win from this game. And and they made a couple more substitutions. Arsenal did, and it didn't really make a huge impact. They were still a bit of a threat here and there, but it was kind of an even game, and we were having a lot of possession. And then later on, Milivojevic went off. And who came on? Sorry, let me look at my thing here. It was Kayute who came on, and that was more of a defensive decision, I think, because Kayute's a bit more defensive minded. Obviously, he is a midfielder, but he's got more experience of defending as well. So that, I think, was a little bit of a negative move by Vieira, but he wanted, I think, to protect this 2-1 that we had. And later on in the half, he actually substituted Edouard, I should say, for James Tompkins, who came in. And that was another defender who came on. And certainly the commentators were a little bit surprised by that. They thought that maybe he'd keep it as it is because we were maintaining possession. And then at that point we started to sit back, and that was the problem. We started to sit back further and further. We got deeper and deeper in our own half, and Arsenal were just, one chance after another trying to head towards the goal. We were kind of throwing ourselves at the ball to try and stop it going in the back of the net, which, yes, it does work, but I think we needed to be a little bit more organised at the back there at that point. We needed to be a bit more organised and getting the ball away from them and getting it away into space, giving the defenders a breather. And then the same thing happened right at the death, right in injury time. The same thing happened at Brighton, and Arsenal got a very, very late equaliser. And, it was a good goal, but it was something I think that we didn't have to concede. I think we should have won that game 2-1. It was a bit disappointing, and at the time I was quite disappointed about it. But having time to reflect on that, I think that we did work really hard. We did play hard, and we created some good chances. Considering that we didn't have Zaha in the game, and he's one of those players that makes things happen for us. And the fact that we didn't necessarily miss him, I think, is a good thing for us. Not that we don't want him in the side, but I think it's good that we can now manage to play a game that well without him in the side. So that was a good positive thing. Alese looked bright again when he came on, which is another good sign. Didn't start from the beginning again, and I think there's a reason for that. I think they want to try and make sure that he's 100% before he makes a start to a game. You can understand that. But do I have concerns? Perhaps one or two. Only because, we've had such a bad start in terms of the games we've had. We've met almost all of the top teams in the first 10 or so games we've played. We've had a really, really bad run of games in terms of opponents, and we've done well. We've got, we've got points. We've managed to hold our own. We've managed to play well. We've managed to stand up against these bigger clubs. We've done a really good job. But there comes a time when you have to think to yourself, are we getting enough points at this stage of the campaign? We need to pick up points. If, we've come back from behind a number of times this season, but what happens if we manage to not come back from behind? Eventually it's going to get to the point where we're not going to be able to do that anymore. Yeah, we work hard, but then if a couple of times we don't come back from behind and we end up losing the game, that's when things might start to turn. That's when Palace's confidence they've got at the moment might start to wane. And maybe there was a bit of that against Arsenal when they just went further and further back, sat further and further back, and just invited Arsenal onto them. Maybe there was a little bit of worry then just creeping in. That's my only concern. Vieira's done a fantastic job, and I'm really pleased that he's here. But it could be that we need to get things happening really quickly. When Eze comes in, Zaha will be back. I think we'll be a different team. But it's what happens until that time that I'm a little bit concerned about. But what do you think? Do you think that we're going to be all right? Do you think that there's going to be a problem if we don't start picking up more points? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you say in the comments. And, well, I think that's about it. Oh, I was going to mention Gallagher, wasn't I? Yes, Gallagher's getting a lot of attention. I mean, he scored in his England games under 23s. He's getting a lot of attention. I really hope that we can keep him, because if we, you don't want to, I was sitting here when you started playing and he was playing really well. I was thinking, don't fall in love with a loney, but you just do. He's such a great player, and he's been such an amazing asset to the club and to the team that I really hope that we can secure his future permanently. It's going to be a lot of money, I think, but whether the club are going to be willing to pay that is another thing. I'm not usually into that kind of thing, so it could be that he's just allowed to go back to Chelsea or whatever, or that he gets bought, but hopefully he won't. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoyed the show, and until next time, COYP.